Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Fru here. So today we're going to be talking about how do you stay current in IT. The question we're going to be answering is how do you stay current in IT. So before we dive into talking about how do you stay current, and I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks and things that you can use to stay current in IT, I want to share a story. And I'm not quite sure if this story is for real. It might just be one of those folk tales, and if some of you hear this and if it sounds familiar and you've heard something like that, go into the comment section below and be sure to have a discussion about it. But the story was about some guy that many years ago, like in the 80s, did not do a lot of good things, so he committed some crimes. And of course, if you commit crimes, what's your punishment? You're sent to jail. So this guy had done a lot of bad stuff, so he was sent to jail. Now, he was in jail for many years. And then when he came out, eventually he was released from good behavior and things like that. So he came out in the 2000s, in the 2000s, late 2000s. And he walked out of the prison. And he was just blown away. The family that came to take him gave him a phone, and he looked at it and was actually scared. He didn't even know what it was. It was an iPhone and he didn't even know what it was. This guy came back home on the internet and was so confused. All of those things had happened and he wasn't aware of them. He wasn't current in terms of what was happening. And so his life was really traumatic. Now, I know, guys, that's a little bit of an extreme story, whether it's true or not, but it's just a story that can make the point go across. So there are consequences to not staying current in terms of what happens around you, and especially in IT. This is a field where things change. I always say it changes at warp speed, right? Like every six months something new is coming out. We know, folks, that my phone is not here, but for the folks that have phones, we know that Apple and Samsung and all these companies, they're coming out with some new technology almost every single year or 6 months or whatever it is, in very short windows. Some new generation of something is coming up, and the same in IT. So what I tell people is that, especially the ones that I coach or ones that I mentor or that reach out to me in emails and they're asking for opinions, why should I learn this, why should I learn that, what's the hottest thing? And I'm like, you know what, you can give someone fish and feed them for a day, or you can teach them how to fish and feed them for a lifetime. So instead of us giving fish and talking about what is the latest trend in technology, what should you pay attention to, why don't we step back in this video and talk about how do you stay current? Because if you can figure out how to stay current, well, you can always figure out what's hard in technology, what skills you should be learning, what tactics are new. Are people moving to the cloud? Is AI the next big thing? Is cryptocurrency going to come back again? Is social really the future? A lot of things that can really help you as you try to navigate the very difficult and ever-changing path that exists in IT. So now I'm going to go into the whiteboard as always and share a couple of tips and tricks that you can use and platforms that you can definitely use to stay current. So number one that we have is Twitter, of course. So Twitter is number one. I know one of my friends, I was speaking to them, somebody one time, and they said, well, they are planning to delete all their social media accounts, and they say social media is unproductive and they want to delete all their accounts, and and they were really adamant about it, and they believe that, well, they just need to sit in their room with a pen and a pencil and or a pencil and a piece of paper, and that's just going to be their existence, right? Whether or not you can make an argument for or against that, I think that if that's really your thinking, it could be very counterproductive, especially if you're trying to stay current in a world that is increasingly global, interconnected, and information driven. So the reason why I say that is because Twitter is really one of the culprits where people always blame. As like, why do you have a Twitter account and all that stuff, right? Because you have a Twitter account doesn't mean you always have to tweet. There are tons of people that have Twitter accounts, but they never tweet, and it's not a problem, right? And that could be you. They use it to consume information. I don't know the statistics, honestly, I don't have any statistics around that, but if I was to guess, I would think the Pareto principle is as I play with Twitter too, where 70% or 80% of the tweets or content generated there is done by 80% of the content generated there is done by 10% or 20% of the users. The rest are just passive people consuming information, and that could be you. So Twitter is a great place to go in there and to consume information. A lot of people put information out there, and these are people who are leaders in the industry, or you want to find those people and follow them. Most of them will have Twitter accounts, and they share updates and they share things that are going on. They share their opinions, they share trends. So go in there. If you're into big data, find leaders in the big data space, authors, people who have written books, CEOs and things like that, and follow them. They would always tend to tweet about what's going on, and that way you can get it very quickly at a glance. Another way is hashtags, of course, right? It might not just be individuals, but this is not a tutorial on how to use Twitter. I'm sure you can go find videos somewhere on how to use Twitter, but or other platforms similar to Twitter like TweetDeck and things like that, but this is just to give you the rough idea. So following hashtags and being able to see, say, big data, for example, or IT or cloud or AWS or Azure, depending on the topic that you're really interested in, you can find that hashtag, you can follow that. So once you go back on Twitter, you have an idea of what's going on and you can stay current, right? So Twitter is really good. Then the next one that we have, of course, I would just put here that Google. And Google has a couple of products. You have Google News, Google Trends, Google Alerts, and a whole bunch of things that Google offer in terms of information for us, for you to take advantage of. You know, the mission of Google is to organize the world's information. And so guess what? If you're looking for information, where do you go? That's a quiz. It's not a trick question. Okay, so Google is the information powerhouse that exists in combination with their search and all the indexing that they've done. If you're looking for something, Google is probably going to give you the answer, right? Google search, you can see things. Google News is great because you can come in there in the morning, you can follow specific topics. You can say, well, I want news on trend, I want my feed to show me news around technology or some particular industry. If you are into, say, databases, you want to search for databases and then pin that so that you can see news around that, and Google does the magic behind the scene of giving you that information. So it's something that you definitely want to take advantage of. Google News. There is Google Trends too. This is something where once in a while, you don't have to do this every day, but once in a while you can just go in there and search for trends. And what Google does is they search the massive database almost in real time, and they can tell you what is trending across the world, right, across different topics and in different geographic areas. So you can really look at that and say, but what is trending today in 2019, or what was trending in 2018? That way you can begin to read the tea leaves. You can see what is going on in the industry, right? And based on that, you can then take it to say, well, wow, so machine learning is trending, or data science is trending, or Docker, or Kubernetes, or something, you know, is trending. And then that's where you can now go in and dive a little bit deeper into that topic. So Google Trends is one thing. Google Alerts is another thing. You can set up alerts. You can put in a topic. Let's say you want to get into Docker and containerization or microservices, right? You can go in there. You can put in your topic, and if something comes up on that, it emails you, and you can get quick information about it. So really great, really great. Google ecosystem is hard to fail. Then number 3 that I'll put in here is, there is a lot that I can put in here, but is Reddit, and I've mentioned this in some videos, and things like Quora and such. So Reddit is a platform. Some people like it and some don't. So for those that like it, they're really passionate about it, and they have a huge and active community in Reddit, similar to Quora. So Reddit is more discussion. So they have the ideas of subreddits, which are just categories of information. And so depending on the topic, say machine learning or data science, if that's what interests you, or security, you can go in there, find subreddits for that, and people are always engaging, sharing information, sharing links, sharing things, which you can really benefit from in that subreddit area. Same with Quora. Quora is a little bit different, where they the way it works, and I think I've talked about this in some other videos, Quora, you literally post questions, or people post questions, and then others come in and they answer the questions. So you can say, well, I want to learn machine learning, and you can just go in there and search for questions that people have asked about things for machine learning, and you can just see all the answers. That one is very engaging. I kind of like it because you can, people tend to, you know, be real with it in terms of the answers that they put, and you can, instead of just reading some generic article, you're reading something that's answering a specific questions. And so that specificity is something that's very appealing to me in terms of getting the information from Quora really quickly. So I like that personally. And there is more. There is a lot that I could keep going on with this list, but you can always start from there and then branch out if you have other sites that answers questions. Okay guys, number 4, of course, is LinkedIn. LinkedIn was bought by Microsoft and is really becoming an information powerhouse. I'm amazed at the amount of information that LinkedIn is adding to their ecosystem every single day. At one point, they bought SlideShare, which I used to use quite a bit. You create slides there, and a lot of people make slides on that, so it's great. So LinkedIn is a great platform to also check out. You know, personally, I use LinkedIn a lot, not just from a professional perspective of connecting with my network and keeping up to date with what's going on in my network in terms of people, but also understanding the news feed has really become very informational in terms of what are people discussing, what are people talking about, what articles are people writing. So people can write articles now in LinkedIn, so you can always read what articles people are writing, and that way you can stay up to date. You know, LinkedIn also came out with, I don't get the name off my head, I might leave it in the link below, but they basically summarize a bunch of things. I don't know if it's manual or if it's automated or bot based, but they summarize it and they put it out every morning, so you can quickly see a summary like, oh, Uber did this, Lyft going for IPO, or Microsoft is going to buy this so company. Sometimes you can quickly see those things and have a rough idea in terms of what's big and what's going on, right? So that is really it. So number 5 that I'll put here is, you know, Stumble. It used to be called Stumble Upon. I think it's called Mix now, something like that, with the 2x, and there's just more. But the whole goal for this one is get out of your bubble. Very important. I can list you all kind of sites, all kind of places where you can go to get information and see things, but the way these platforms operate is that they turn, and that's one of the side effects of machine learning. They tend to use machine learning to understand your viewing habits, to understand what you're interested in, right? So if you tend to watch news on Oracle, or say on big data, they tend to use the machine learning, see that, so they can feed you information around that piece of it, what you're interested in. But I personally believe that there is good and there is bad to that, because it can create this halo and put you in a bubble, an information bubble that you might not be aware of, because you always tend to look at a specific type of information, and that's all you get fed, and it becomes like, you know, a cyclical snowballing effect where you just get to see what you want to see and not what you should be seeing, and maybe missing a lot of other information out there. So this point, I used to like Stumble Upon, and I think it was bought by, I haven't used it lately, but I think it was switched to Mix or anything similar to that. But what it does is it literally just randomizes information and just gives you random information, because that's what you want. You don't want to be in a bubble for a very long time, right? You don't want to be in an information bubble or an information ecosystem where it's just like an echo chamber of what you know, and if something is happening outside your bubble, you have no idea to it. So I personally put in a lot of effort in terms of making sure that I know what I know what is in my field, but am I putting myself in position so that if something is happening outside of my industry or my immediate circle, I would be able to pick it up. So you want to really figure that out and put in some effort. There are tools that allow you to do that, where they just randomize and send you random articles. And I mean, you can be reading an article about painting, right, in the morning, and just what's happening in the painting industry, right? The so and so sell a new, who's the next Picasso, and things like that, right? Where you don't want to be a one-trick pony, guys. I know I'm belaboring this point, but it's very important. You don't want to be a one-trick pony. You don't want to be somebody that just knows one thing and then anything else they don't know. A lot of people, and I'm just going to digress here a little bit. In late 2017, when Bitcoin was really blowing up and breaking records, into 2018, before the crash was happening, where I would talk to people and some of them did not know about Bitcoin until 1 month or so, or during the bubble, or when the you know, that rise was happening. That's when they heard about Bitcoin. And I'm not saying you have to know everything that's out there, but that's kind of a symptom to people being in a bubble, because Bitcoin had been around and crypto had been around for a while, but just people who paid attention to it even registered it in their ecosystem. So some people would tell me, oh, I wish I knew about Bitcoin 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I would have invested and I would have bought Bitcoin when it was still pennies, and I would have made a lot of money and become a millionaire. Well, you did not. You didn't. You did not see it. You did not see the wave coming. You did not see the trend coming, right? And so if you ask the question, how did you miss that information, or how did you miss something like that? Well, maybe because you exist in an information bubble. And so how do you prevent that from happening as a career, as an IT professional, so you can stay current in tech, right? Is by finding ways to not just visit the website you always visit. I mean, you want to have your core websites where you go to, but branch out, check other sites, check random articles, things that are not in your niche, things that you never usually pay attention to, just so that, you know, you don't know what you might see that can spark some ideas in your head for you to learn something that you've never learned before. Right now, I can tell you that everybody is talking about you know, data science, and well, everybody was talking about Hadoop and things like that, and then data science has come into play. Everybody's talking about it now, but what is that next thing that people are not necessarily talking about, the thing that exists on the fringes or on the edges, and that you should be paying attention to? Because before the big news sites are picking it up, it's already old news. It's very old. So at the edges is where innovation happens, and you really want to go to those edge sites. Of course, stay safe, right? Don't do anything crazy. Don't go to sites that you don't want to be there, or things like that. But definitely understand that it's around the edges where innovation happens. And if you want to catch the wave of the future, you have to put yourself in those positions and expand your horizons. Do things that you don't necessarily do. Change your tricks. Change 1 or 2 things, and then you can see a lot more around what's happening around you. Alright guys, so thanks for watching. I hope this session or this lecture or this conversation was great. I hope you got some good insights out of it. I personally had a lot of fun thinking about this and making this. Again, someone could say, but oh, Facebook is the next big thing. Why didn't you put Facebook? Sure, add Facebook to it. Oh, YouTube should be great. Oh, I use Mashable. You should put Mashable. Guys, those are all one and the same thing, right? If you want to add Mashable here instead of Quora, sure, go for it, right? But the goal is for this, it really puts it into major themes, with the end being expand your horizon. So you might have your little niche sites. There are tools that allows you to aggregate content from many different sites, so you can watch it you can see them in one place. Whatever the trick, some people subscribe to newsletters, some people subscribe to physical magazines, right? Where some companies like CIO, different companies, or Gartner, or Forrester and things like that, where they talk about trends and waves and things. You can certainly go out and do those things, but just be somebody that consumes information and don't just stay in one place for too long, or just be in one bubble. Always try to make sure, am I getting a big picture? Am I beyond my day-to-day work? Am I seeing what is coming, say, in the next 3 years? Am I getting a perspective of what is coming in the next 5 10 years and even 20 years? What would the industry look like in 20 years? What are people thinking about what it will look like in 20 years, right? And a lot of it might just be guessing and just imaginations, but it's okay to imagine. I mean, all of us have to imagine at some point. Everything that comes into reality was somebody's imagination. And if you can tap into that and be aware of that, I think you'll be a very, very, very strong IT professional. Not only getting into the field, but establishing yourself and future-proofing yourself so that if things change, you're not caught by surprise, right? You know, you don't want to be caught by surprise by waves and by trends and by innovations that you just were not aware of. So thanks guys for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, if you have some questions and comments you want to make, guys, leave it in the discussion below. If there are certain websites that you have, guys, leave it in the comment below. If there are certain trends you are aware of, whenever you watch this video, please leave those trends below. And if you like this channel and the content we create, helping people in the IT field, in technology, it could be beginners, experts, everybody in between, subscribe to this channel. My focus is to make content like that. And below there will be a link in the description where this video has been indexed with 3Ly AI. So if check out that extension. I don't want to talk much about it, but check it out. You can see a lot of insights in terms of what was done with this video. I've indexed it with artificial intelligence and it translates it to over 30 languages, so you can see a lot more behind the scenes. And guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.